Yo, what is up? We are back with a new tank to play around with, the T78, about to be launched today. I've had it for a few days now and I've had a couple of games with it, and I'm going to give you my first impressions. I've actually had a lot of fun with this game, but first, before I forget, remember to subscribe and hit the notification button, especially if you are here for the mod pack updates. Notifications will help you out there when a new video comes out. But anyway, we are in steps and we are spawned on the south end. We are doing what tank destroyers do best, which is to camp at the back, knock some trees down, use the camo values and accurate gun to snipe from a distance, and that's what tank destroyers do. And the T78 is no exception. This is a tier 6, of course. It is sandwiched in between the Hellcat and the Jackson in terms of statistics. We'll go into that a little bit more, but basically this is in terms of stats, it is it's kind of like a little bit worse Hellcat. Basically it's a worse Hellcat, but what does it do better than a Hellcat? Well, it has better turret traverse, it has better hull traverse, and it can wiggle a little bit better. Now, according to the stats, the forward speed is only 55 kilometers an hour, which is a lot less than a Hellcat. And the reverse speed is 14 kilometers an hour, which is like 2 kilometers an hour faster than a Hellcat. But basically, it is worse than a Hellcat in terms of top speed. But if you look at the terrain resistances, the soft terrain, hard terrain, medium terrain, soft terrain resistances, the turret traverse and the tank traverse, and basically the effective values make this tank have like, it feels like it has a little bit better mobility. I mean, you can swivel your head around a little bit quicker, you can wiggle a little bit better than a Jackson or a Hellcat, although the stats doesn't seem to show it. But when you're actually driving it around, you actually feel like it is kind of a little bit more of a more agile tank. In fact, it actually has a chaffee chassis, a chaffee hull. So basically it is a Hellcat turret on a chaffee hull, which is why this tank is kind of small. It has this kind of mobility features that you kind of have in your chaffee. Now let's go down to the stats a little bit. It's got 160 penetration on the standard AP shells, which is the same as the Hellcat and the Jackson, but only 221 premium shells, 221 penetration on the premium shells. Of course, the Hellcat and the Jackson have 243, I think, which is like very good. The damage it does for each shell is 240, which is in the Jackson and Hellcat territory, which makes it really good. Now, as you can see, this has been a pretty good game for me, even though I am just sitting at the back and sniping for the most of the early and the middle part of the game. And now it's like it's pretty obvious that we are going to win this game, which is why I'm basically rushing towards the west side and try to take a gamble on where I can find the rest of the team. Now, my gamble is those heavy tanks are going to be continuing to push onto the west southern side, and I feel like the medium tanks that are going to go back to defend the base are going to have very little or no HP. So I'm just going to be chasing HP now. So I'm going to try and chase down the VKH and the OI, because those kind of tanks, the heavy tanks, are the ones with the most armor and the most HP pool. So I'm going to try and farm a lot of damage there. So this is basically a very simple, straightforward game. Basically what Hellcats, Jacksons do most of the time. Early in the game, sit at the back, let your team snipe, let your team spot for you, you snipe from the back. When this gun is stationary and you are fully aimed, you are going to hit most of your shots. The gun is that good. Now, I am shooting a lot of premium rounds. In fact, I'm only shooting premium rounds in this tank at the moment. That was because I was trying to chase the highest amount of damage and trying to get myself the ace tanker, of course. And just as I expected, the two heavy tanks are here. You see me taking a lot of time there aiming. That is because this tank does not do very well when it's snapshotting. It has a dispersion of 0.35 and aim time of 1.83. So this tank doesn't do very well when you're driving up to people and trying to snapshot them. It doesn't work that way. You have to give it some time to aim and shoot the weak spots or flat areas wherever you want to shoot. Now I'm not going to risk going in front of this guy when he's got his gun pointed at me, and that's because this thing can easily be one-shotted by HE shells, artillery strikes of that nature. KV2s easily one-shots you, so you need to be careful about what you want to do and make the right decisions before you do them. Now this is of course an ace tanker. I'm going to show you the results at the end of the game. I'm going to actually show you two videos before I show you the results. This is of course an ace tanker, and that's because I did a lot of damage on this one. And that's about the end of the game. We didn't manage to kill off the last tank. I don't know why they decided to cap it out, but that's the way it went. The next game we are in, I can't remember the name of this map, oh my god, but anyway, this map as usual, you want to try and get into the middle. Is this Studenski? I'm not sure, but anyway, I'll try to get on to the bushes here and try to shoot any of those guys that are the light tanks that are coming up front. I want to spot them and shoot them. And here you see this tank going to be struggling to shoot and aim. Like I said, when you're traversing your turret, when you're driving forwards, when you're swiveling around, it's really difficult to shoot anything at medium to long distances. You need to be stationary, turret not swiveling, you know, not wiggling around too much, and that way you will make your shots. But when you're trying to track your enemies that way, when they're serpentining, zigzagging left and right, it's difficult to shoot those guys and hit those targets. So what I'm going to do is try to head on out to the middle of the map, and what I'm going to do is try to snipe from the factories here where the smokestacks are, and get behind that rubble and try to shoot people from there. I've had some success from this position previously, so I'm going to pretend that I'm going to do well here, but unfortunately those guys are safe, so I'm not going to get a lot of shots here. So let's get on to a little bit of the continue with the stats. 6.85 seconds of reload time, slightly better than the Hellcat, but definitely slower than the Jackson, of course. Shell velocity 850 shell velocity on the standard AP shells. The APCR shells are 700. The shell velocity is 853 on the standard AP shells, but on the APCR shells you have 1066, which is why it's at distances. When you're sniping from a distance, sometimes it's a lot better to use those APCR shells, not just because you are guaranteed penetration or you have slightly better penetration, but because of the shell velocities, you don't have to lead so much, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people, if they can afford those APCR shells, you want to be shooting those APCR shells, especially in long distances. I'm getting a little bit of use here with those shells, and with that kind of spotting, I'm going to shoot these tanks when they cross in between those buildings. I make some shots, I don't make some shots. You can't win them all, but try to make use of your position. And as you can see, we have nothing at our base to spot those guys that have pushed over, so I've decided that I'm going to be the guy to do the spotting for my team. Now, what else do we have here about this tank? Aim time 1.83 seconds, a lot worse than the Hellcat, which is 1.56 seconds. So maybe you want to run a gun laying drive. I'm not sure about that, but basically I'm running optics and binocular telescope and gun rammer. These are the 3 equipment I'm using. I am wanting to spot for myself. I am wanting to spot on the move, so I'm gonna play this aggressively. I like the optics and binocular telescope combination. It might benefit a bit more if you remove the optics and use the gun laying drive instead for that quicker aim. But the way I'm playing this tank right now, I prefer this setup for me right now. But I've only had 10 games in this tank, so I can't definitively say if using the optics is better over the gun laying drive. But so far it's working for me, so I'm gonna stick to this for the time being. Like I said, this tank is unlike the Hellcat. It has worse stats in terms of gun handling, in terms of mobility, but it feels like it's better in terms of mobility and gun handling. You get what I mean? When you're actually playing it, it feels like it's got a little bit better mobility than the Hellcat. I think that's attributed to the turret traverse, which is a lot better. The turret traverse is 21.8 degrees, which is a lot better than the Hellcat, which is 17.44 degrees per second, per minute. So it feels like the mobility is better now, even though, like I said, the aim time and dispersion is worse than a Hellcat. But when you're actually playing it, it feels like it's kind of similar or even better, and that's because you have this moving dispersion and traverse dispersion that is a lot better than the Hellcat. Hellcat's moving and tank traverse dispersion and turret traverse dispersion is a lot worse than the T78. For instance, the Hellcat moving dispersion is 0.33. The T78 has a 0.28 dispersion on the move, and during the hull traverse, a Hellcat is 0.33 and T78 is 0.28. Now I'm trying to dodge these guys and survive. I managed to spot these 3 guys out, but I don't know how I'm still alive, and maybe that's something to do with the mobility advantage I feel that this tank has. It's not really like a super fast tank, but it does wiggle a little bit better. Turret traverses a little bit quicker. The ground resistances of this tank is a bit better maybe, but I feel that it's working for me, and I've done a lot of damage in this tank. I've done also a lot of spotting in this tank, which also earns me that ace tanker for this game as well. Now, I don't know why my team is being so passive, even though we are winning by a wide margin. Looks like they're counting on me to do all the spotting again. Now again, as you can see, this guy is crossing. I took all my time in the world there to aim at this guy, and I still couldn't hit him. And that is not by any means a fast tank. That is a Jagdpanzer, a tier 5 or tier 6 tank destroyer, which does not move very fast, but it is difficult for me to hit him with this kind of gun handling that I have. It's not made for tracking and shooting enemies that are crossing in front of you. If they were driving towards you or driving away from you, I suppose they will be a bit easier to hit, but when they are driving across your face, it's kind of difficult to track even the not so quick tanks, which is one of the bad things about this tank. I get myself killed, game is over for me. But here are the results anyway. The ace tanker for me in the first game, Pepega clap, I guess. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is the second game. Even though I died early, I still earned myself an ace tanker because of the combined spotting and damage that I got on this tank. If you're going for this tank, you won't regret it actually. I am really having fun with this tank. It's a really good tank for me anyway. If you like the Hellcat, you're gonna like this tank a lot as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.